Adama Dempster, thank you for being here with us at the Wayamo Foundation at the events organized by the Africa Group for Justice and Accountability. You have been central to efforts and attempts to create and to get the government to create a war crimes court in Liberia. Why, in your view, is it important for Liberia to have a war crimes court, and where do those efforts stand right now?
Well, quite importantly, Liberia has come out of a long civil conflict. That is back in the 1990s, and another round of civil conflict in the 2000s. And the outcome of civil conflict has actually devastated Liberia. We have a broken economy that is still surviving, struggling to survive. And what is more challenging is that you have a total number of over 250,000 Liberians that died. Of course, it includes all of nationals as well. And you have a huge veteran community. And of course, we have like more than 130 massacre sites that have not been memorialized. And all of these are compounded transitional justice challenges that we think need to be addressed. But you also need to know that after conflict, the conflict issue need to be addressed. Because if you fail to address the conflict issue, there's a likelihood that you will slip back into conflict. And importantly, we really want to live up to our international human rights obligation. Because under international human rights law, we sign treaties that forbid the commission of crime, international crimes. So on this basis, I think Liberia have no option, but rather to be able to live up to those obligations. Ongoing efforts ranging from civil society, other international groups in the United Nations is actually gaining momentum. What is needed more now is that the political will from the government, the president has to take a stand to save the country, to be able to put the country back on the right trajectory, that will be able to renew and then redefine a new Liberia, more than or better than remembering Liberia as a war-torn country.
The Truth Commission in 2009 recommended the creation of a war crimes court. At the same time, or around the same time, the current president, who used to be a Goodwill ambassador for the United Nations, basically came out and said, I would like to see a war crimes court created for Liberia. He's in an interesting position because he was a footballer, so he is not actually associated with any party to the conflict directly. So he himself, as a political leader, isn't under threat. So why, given those realities, why is it that the government has still refused to actually set up this war crimes court? What is holding them back?
Well, it's very simple. Just before President Weah came to the presidency, you have former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, under which Wash administration, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, conducted her work and then presented a report. But unfortunately, she herself had been listed in the report for in her testimony before the Truth Commission that she gave 10,000 to a warring faction. And from all fairness, we know that there's no warring faction that is running a humanitarian arm. They are trained to devastate, rape, loot, and kill. So if you're going to give them $10,000 for humanitarian purpose or charity purpose, that is not convincing. So she was listed in the TRC report and barred for political, interplay in the next political actions of Liberia. But unfortunately, she found herself around that. Bringing George Weah in, of course, you said it, he's no party to the conflict. He had not been listed for crimes or war crimes. And of course, he's on record as a US and UN UNICEF ambassador in 2004 that the mechanisms should be put into place to prosecute war crimes. Those are records that he cannot deny. But what has happened now is that we realize that in the event where he have been elevated to his presidency, compounded with a lot of interest, political interest. It is a human rights issue. So his personal interest or the political interest cannot overshadow the human rights issue. That's why we reminded him time and time that come what may, he has to take a stand.
And finally, Adama, what makes you hopeful that your efforts and that the efforts of others in Liberia and its allies in the region and internationally will ultimately be successful, and that one day you will see a war crimes court created in Liberia to prosecute atrocities from the Civil War?
What is good is that we have a strong spirit of acceptance. That is, the Liberian public, they are increasingly getting into the debate. People are interested. The veteran community have come up. And then you also found out that even politicians are also interested into the issue. But what is good for us is that the issue of impunity have not moved Liberia anywhere. The culture of impunity have kept Liberia backward, and it have kept us in the position that no one tends to trust us anymore. So we want trust, and beyond trust, confidence, and of course, national ownership of our own affairs. These are things that Liberians want to have a hold of. The international community have shown a great level of the support, and that's why we come to this Wayamo Foundation conference to mobilize regional support, because we think regional support will also help to put pressure on the government, will also help to educate our parliament on the issue of accountability. So all these are important models that we want to use as a success story. And more importantly, the media is also playing a pivotal role. They continue to report on the issue of accountability on a daily basis, and I think that is something that is good. The voices of veterans have been heard, and the list is just endless. And as an advocate, as a war crimes justice campaigner, I can tell you 100% that before we end 2019, with some of the objectives that we have earmarked, looking at support that will be coming in, we're going to have a table turned into the right direction where we can be able to press forward for the prosecution of accountability in Liberia.
Adama Dempster, we wish you the best of luck in those efforts. We express our solidarity with Liberians and like yourself who are pushing for a war crimes court. Thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us at Justice Talks.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.